Hey traders, checking out on the cryptocurrency space. We had a lot of action over the weekend, a lot of volatility, a significant bounce, and here we are tightening up. Has our top been set? What are the clues that we can look for? And what are we looking for in the short term? There's a lot to cover. Let's get into it. So I did a live stream for members yesterday, and that was an hour long, and I don't want to repeat myself too much, but we are going to look at the bigger picture, and then we'll zoom into what we're looking at in the short term. And on the daily chart, we can see a big drop. And essentially, a lot of it, in my opinion, was over-leveraged longs. And then again, the supply and demand scales where we just see that tilt. And it's enough to trigger a cascade of waterfalls of stop losses triggering. And then a significant bounce because the order books are all cleared out on the way down. And here we are right in the middle of yesterday's range, forming a 4-hour equilibrium, which is not surprising at all because that's the most likely scenario. We'll zoom in on that in just a second. Bigger picture, what were the red flags? Well, we had a rising wedge on the daily time frame. That's not necessarily a huge red flag because we've seen plenty of rising wedges break bullish. Most recently, ETH broke a rising wedge bullish, but we did fall down through that support line pretty significantly. Number two, the bull breaks with a lack of follow through. We've been noting that on Bitcoin for a while. So the new all-time high by 5%. Again, not a ton of follow through. And then the third was the sell the news reaction to coin listing and seeing a little bit of a short-term temporary top in a sell the news event. So we saw a lack of fear on the sell the news event in reaction to coin listing, but then that fear hit over the weekend. There were some headlines as well. Those headlines don't really mean a whole lot to me, but bigger picture, monthly time frame. So the number one reason why I'm cautious in the cryptocurrency space is because the monthly charts look like this, and anytime a chart looks like this with hundreds of percent and no consolidation, I am cautious. So I'm watching, and everybody's watching for signs. Is it time for monthly consolidation? And the answer is, we don't have enough information yet, but I'll show you on the short term what's going to be key to helping to answer that question. Let's zoom in a little bit. Weekly time frame. We're still in a weekly uptrend. The low of this drop is 51.3. Now there's a key support level converging here because the low was 50,000.3. So we're in a scenario right now where if we were to drop down and test the lows of this bounce, you're going to see bulls that bought the dip get liquidated, and then anybody that was playing off of the weekly uptrend getting stopped out as well. So there are likely a bunch of stop losses right above 50,000. That's something to be keeping an eye on as well. If 50,000 holds, the bulls keep complete control. We can't see monthly consolidation happen if we're still setting weekly higher lows. So that is the level. 50,000 is the level for me from here. 50,000 or an all-time high. Those are the two levels. Daily time frame. Inside bar, that's very likely to form today. 4-hour time frame, equilibrium, not surprising in the slightest because again, equilibrium is the most likely scenario after this kind of volatility. I am viewing the low as the low. I'm not viewing, you could view this as a support level, absolutely, 53.1 thousand, but obviously the 51.3 is the most important level for me. We topped out right at 4-hour EMA 12, a great visual guide, 57.6 thousand, and here are the bulls attempting a 4-hour higher low. If we form it, we're going to look to tighten up into tonight and look for a break of this 4-hour range tomorrow, where we either confirm a 4-hour bull trend change, which would likely be an inside bar breaking bullish, keeping in mind a bull break of this 4-hour time frame means zoom out and scout a daily lower high. We're doing the zoom out game, one time frame at a time. It started with an hourly equilibrium. That broke bullish. We zoom out, we scout the 4-hour lower high. We got it. If it breaks bullish, we zoom out, we scout the daily lower high, then we scout a daily higher low and tightening range, one time frame to the next. So in the short term, what do we need for a 4-hour higher low to be set? Well, step number one is a 15-minute trend change, which is now shaping up. Low of the drop into 15-minute oversold conditions, high of the bounce, higher low, and if the bulls can break 55.6 thousand, it'll be step number one for forming the 4-hour higher low. That being said, it is likely to just be a 4-hour inside bar with 2.5 hours left to go, and we would need that inside bar to break bullish for a convincing 4-hour higher low. But for right now, the battle is on the 15-minute time frame, taking shape. The dominance chart continues to remain weak, but there's a little bit of a shift in the air, and it's just a falling wedge type setup. A bear break of a lower low with a lack of follow through, and just watching to see if the bulls can change the 4-hour trend for the first time in what feels like forever. And if we can't, then the altcoin bulls continue to keep complete control. But watching for the potential of either an inverse head and shoulders setup or a falling wedge where bear breaks start to lack any follow through and we start looking in the other direction. Not paying a ton of attention to it, but peeking in on it once a day or so. One thing I want to point out, when we're talking Bitcoin monthly time frame, and I posted this on Twitter, I used to talk about the correlation between the marijuana sector and the cryptocurrency space significantly, and that correlation faded. On my left is Bitcoin monthly chart. On my right is TCNNF, a US marijuana stock monthly chart. They both surged from the COVID lows. They did the same thing. We had a little bit of consolidation, August and September. There's your August and September sideways trading. There's your massive leg up, 3-6 months. There's your 3-6 months of Bitcoin move up. There's your bearish reversal candle last month on TCNNF and follow through into monthly consolidation. And again, I was just as cautious in the US marijuana sector because we had run hundreds of percent with no monthly consolidation. We're now getting it, and I'm all cash, being protective and not seeing my profits disappear. And I'm watching now Bitcoin. Is it going to follow suit? Now, I don't think Bitcoin would follow suit because it's correlated. Clearly, the correlation has shifted over the last couple of weeks. And yes, this is just one individual stock. So what can I gain from this chart? I have a clear roadmap of a stock or a trading instrument, whatever it is, that went from raging blue sky bulls, and the scales tilted from demand of shares to supply of shares, and monthly consolidation started. It's a roadmap. Look at how similar these daily charts are. We hit an all-time high on Bitcoin, pulled back for a weekly higher low, new all-time high. Higher low, lower high, higher low, new all-time high, and now a big pullback. So look at that shape and look at this shape. All-time high, weekly higher low, new all-time high, another weekly support, lower high, higher low, bull break, and that was the top. So these charts on the daily time frame look identical to me. Again, that doesn't mean Bitcoin's going to follow, but I know what was the key red flag over here. A pullback into a daily bear flag and then a drop to a lower low. If Bitcoin gives us an inside bar bull break with no follow through and then drops to a lower low, it will continue to be the same exact chart. So that is something I'm watching for over the next week. Again, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. I don't think Bitcoin's going to drop because this individual company is dropping. I think that it shows a perfect roadmap of how a blue sky euphoria name shifts into monthly consolidation. So it's just a little bit of clues that I'm keeping an eye on. Today, Bitcoin on the shorter term timeframes has been correlating to QQQ and the S&P 500 at certain points in time. That correlation is constantly shifting, but it's there for a solid couple of hours, and it's worth paying attention to. If you are actively trading, that is. So we'll see how this chart shapes up in comparison, because right now I would say we are pretty much just watching, is it a bear flag or not? And if we bear flag and break 50,000, then it will be very much like this pattern over here. So Ethereum, ETH, daily consolidation underway. I would consider anything above 1929 a daily higher low. There's your daily inside bar. You can see we got closer to the low of yesterday than Bitcoin did, and some of that has to do with the bounce that we're seeing on this dominance chart over the last 12 hours or so. But weekly time frame, bearish reversal candle closed last week. We would have to break 2,000 for weekly consolidation to be underway. And then we got plenty of space. Anything above 1545 is a weekly higher low. So we can say that Bitcoin will very likely lose its weekly uptrend before ETH would. 4 hour equilibrium. But again, look at that drop in that volume. Definitely a red flag. We know if bulls are going to remain their strongest, the retracement should be 50% or less. This retracement from the low to the high and then back down, we retraced back 85% of that bounce. So we know a 4 hour lower high is the more likely scenario as opposed to a 4 hour trend change, which the bulls would obviously rather see. I traded ETH yesterday. I actually slept through all the volatility Saturday night. And then yesterday I raced home and bought this drop and this higher low. I was just looking for a play off of the low, and I entered at 2060. And my first post of the morning was, I'm not interested in making any entries right now. I'm putting my orders under 2,000. And I sat there and collected myself and said, wait a minute, I am all cash. And these are the dips that I'm all cash to be buying. So I ended up buying ETH at 2060. What do I do from there? I zoom out and know that a 4-hour lower high is the most likely scenario. So I exited just under the 4-hour EMA 12 at 2,224. So a nice 7% plus gain. And again, I am in short-term mindset with my trading account. I got my long-term no-touch position. I will sit through monthly consolidation in those positions. Otherwise, in my trading position, trying to keep that account at all-time highs, staying cash during drops and fear and volatility, and taking advantage of bounces when they present themselves. So I exited, and now I made another re-entry, and this is a key setup. So what I did was I entered on this pullback into weakness, 15-minute oversold conditions, and I just re-entered the same position that I exited $100 higher, and I rebought it at 21.24. And then we dropped down, and again, we would have to break 2,000 for me to give back the profit of yesterday. So I was not entirely concerned about that, but we then dropped, and I saw a lack of liquidity just in how fast we dropped $30 on ETH on Coinbase here. That made me less comfortable, and I also knew that I needed to leave the computer for an hour. So on this bounce, I exited break even. This is the difference between aggressive and conservative. I was being more aggressive by entering into weakness. A conservative bull had a beautiful 15-minute higher low to make an entry off of. What's the difference? My entry, my stop level is 2,000. I've got nothing nearby to be going off of. And then when we dropped down, what ended up $75 under my entry, just to get back to my entry, I say, okay, I didn't time it well, and I don't want to put my stop under 2050. I don't feel like risking $75 now that I've seen this weakness. Aggressive. Conservative waits for the 15-minute trend change. We see this bounce. We say, okay, that's a big enough bounce where I'm scouting a 15-minute high or low. Let's say I enter at 2100. I then have my stop level right there. Granted, it's not a huge difference from what I had. Actually, no, that is a huge difference. But that stop level was in play. So again, it's having a support versus not having a support. And the conservative trader is waiting for the trend change setup to present itself for the entry to be made. So again, scaling into weakness when you have a stop level right nearby is very different than scaling into weakness when you have no stop level nearby. And it depends on what kind of trader you are or what your goals are as to what style you choose to take. But in this instance, my trade review of my break-even trade is, should have been more patient, waiting for the 15-minute high or low, much easier trade setup. If we confirm these 15-minute trend changes, we're watching for the 4-hour higher lows to try and be set. But again, look at the ground that has to be covered here. ETH, if we're going to see a higher high, we need to go 7% plus. Whereas BTC on the 4-hour, if we're going to go for a higher high, we need to see 4% plus. ETH, BTC, same thing. So the 4-hour equilibrium here is why we drop faster and why we bounce harder, and then we drop faster. We're doing both directions more significantly because every time we're bouncing, the BTC pairing is bouncing, and we're bouncing faster than Bitcoin. And every time we're pulling back, the BTC pairing is pulling back, and we're dropping faster than Bitcoin. How these 4-hour equilibriums break on Bitcoin pairings is going to be essential for short-term action. Even if ETH USD breaks bullish on the 4-hour, if this BTC pairing breaks bearish, that's a red flag for bulls. LTC USD. 4-hour, same thing as ETH, trying to hold this low. The resistance level is 283.69. If we drop down to lower lows, the daily support level of 240 will break. We would lose the daily uptrend, and we would zoom out and scout a weekly higher low compared to 167.78. That is the biggest difference between Bitcoin and altcoins right now. Altcoins, the strong ones, have a lot more space for weekly higher lows to form than Bitcoin does. It's entirely possible that Bitcoin breaks 50,000 and we see altcoins get extended but still keep their weekly uptrends. And that would be a buy the dip scenario for altcoins. LTC, BTC, same 4-hour time frame, tightening up. Again, watching how these charts break is going to be key to know, should we be focusing on Bitcoin or should we be focusing on altcoins? And right now, if you're a confident trader, you're focusing on altcoins because there's a blue jay, he's okay. There's volatility, there's more volatility in both directions. So whether you're playing bullish or bearish, altcoins is the place to be for more volatility. Binance. So Binance has been consolidating ever since the run up and sell the news. It was sell the news on Binance first, heading into the coin IPO. And that marked the top. I believe it was a day or two before. And now we're looking for a weekly higher low to form. Nope, we haven't started weekly consolidation yet. I take that back. We're looking for a 4-hour trend change for the first time since the all-time high. We've been setting lower lows every time. Bulls need to hold 428 and break 539 to confirm the 4-hour trend change, and then we'll zoom out. And I would be expecting a daily lower high compared to the all-time high, at least initially. But first things first, have to change the 4-hour trend to see consolidation try and shift back into continuation. What's the BTC pairing doing? Same thing. Need that 4-hour trend change confirmed. And the consolidation on the daily is healthier, holding EMA 12. Not as significant of a pullback. And again, shifting, already seeing a clear shift on the daily from consolidation into attempted continuation. But both need that 4-hour trend change. Link had a very strong bounce, but again, more volatility in both directions. We bounced 30%, 28% bounce straight into another 24% drop. The volatility for day traders and short-term traders is awesome. So again, both directions. We have traders in our altcoin chat room trading more bearish over the last week than we've seen in a very long time for obvious reasons. And on that next bounce on Link, we're just looking for a 4-hour lower high compared to 38.16. Daily time frame, technically speaking, still in an uptrend. But again, on the altcoins, I care more about the weekly uptrend and just making sure that the bulls maintain weekly higher lows, which is what I'm going to be watching if Bitcoin breaks 50,000. All altcoins, key weekly support levels if we get that bear break. Link BTC, 4-hour time frame. Again, significant bull break. Big pullback. That's why we're seeing these extremes in both directions. But overall, this Link BTC chart is still in a daily uptrend and hit a higher high. You're not going to find many altcoin Bitcoin pairings that have hit a higher high today comparative to yesterday. One of the names that has is our good friend Dogecoin. There's another potential top indicator. Coin IPO, bull breaks with a lack of follow through, monthly due for consolidation, Dogecoin, meme coin, stealing the show. And again, we saw Link and XRP, LTC and XRP are weaker altcoins make their run. Then we saw the meme coin make its run, and now we're seeing consolidation. So watching close, there was a beautiful top fishing play here. We had a 4-hour tightening range break bull, but we knew to just zoom out and scout a 12-hour lower high, and we got it. Well, not a convincing 12-hour lower high, but we rejected from the all-time high. Failed to break it, and when I am top fishing, just like when I'm bottom fishing, I want the price to get as extended as possible into the key level. That means a rejection is more likely. The hourly chart was extended, the 15-minute chart was extended, and again, if you make an entry at 43, you put your stop over 45, you're risking 2 pennies, and at this point, the drop was over 10 pennies. That's 5-to-1 risk reward, and exactly what you want to see. On this bounce, we're scouting an hourly lower high, and we will have to confirm an hourly downtrend by breaking 338 if we're then going to say, okay, 12-hour equilibrium is the most likely scenario. So hourly downtrend has to be confirmed. This could still be a cup and handle pattern. This is a 4-hour bull flag attempt. So cup and handle is possible. Pretty much we can say if 338 breaks, it's not a cup and handle, and look for the 12-hour equilibrium. If this support level holds, watch for a 4-hour cup and handle. BTC pairing broke bullish. So again, that's keeping bulls comfortable and confident as long as that remains the case. XRP USD, we are looking for a daily higher low. Big time bull move up, big time pullback. Same 4-hour setup, higher low attempt. Have to confirm the 4-hour trend change. Once we do, we would zoom out and scout a daily lower high. So I look at this chart and say, well, I don't want to play XRP bullish. This is hypothetical. If I don't want to play it bullish, I am patiently waiting to top fish a daily lower high using the recent high of $2 as my stop. If you're trading in both directions, you can set trades and say, okay, I'm going to be watching this in 2 or 3 days. That's the trade that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. And then maybe you just let that leave your brain for now and focus on shorter term setups, which is the potential 4-hour high or low attempts. Have we changed the 15-minute trend? Just trying to do so right now. XRP BTC, much stronger than the US dollar pairing, but we need to see the trend change back to the bulls as well. 4-hour trend change would give us the daily high or low on the US dollar pairing, very likely. Scout that high or low. All right, so that's where we stand. A lot of 4-hour time frames looking very similar. Bitcoin, 15-minute trend change attempting to take place. 4-hour tightening range likely to continue tightening for another few candles. We can absolutely see another leg down. And if we see the bull break, we zoom out and scout the daily lower high. Tons of things to be watching. Determine your direction that you're interested in. Determine the time frame that you're interested in. Determine if you are conservative or aggressive. That dictates what signals you are trading on and what time frames you are trading on. So I just posted in the chat room, aggressive bulls are making their entry on a 15-minute high or low, using that low as a stop perhaps, and looking for the 4-hour high or low to be set. And if I had not already stopped out of a trade today, I would have made the same trade, but I was out watering the garden and doing other things. So I'm staying patient. Again, when trades present themselves, I will absolutely take them. I will lock in the gains when I have them. And I do not have a swing trade mindset at this point in time. I will have an altcoin swing trade mindset for weekly higher lows, but I want to see how this 4-hour tightening range breaks first. And even then, I'm not going to be in a rush, knowing that a daily lower high will be the most likely result of a 4-hour confirmed trend change. And then I can watch for a daily higher low if I want to try and make an entry. So I'm in no rush. One day at a time as always. Congrats to the bears. Congrats to the bounce bulls. Opportunity in both directions. This is way better for day trading and short-term gains than the slow grind up. The slow grind up is way better for long-term no-touch positions or swing positions that you're letting ride. But as far as short-term volatility, this is what we look for. Do good things.